Hey friends, this is Angela from Art of Creation Homestead. Welcome back to the homestead, and today I'm going to be teaching you something really cool. I'm going to teach you how to dehydrate tomatoes. Not just any tomatoes, but all these cherry tomatoes that bombard you this time of year. I'm going to show you how to preserve those in an amazing way, and then I'm going to show you what you can do afterwards that will make them even more delicious and make them even more useful to you as dehydrated. But first, what you need to do, this isn't all that I have tons more. This is just the first batch. And by the way, please excuse the sound of my washing machine. As I've told you before, this is a real working homestead. You're going to hear real working homestead noises. Okay, first thing you want to do, you want to wash them really good, pat them dry. As you can see, there are some bigger ones in here. These are tigerellas, and I'm going to dehydrate those as well and see how they do. So you can see I have some sun golds in here and I have some blueberries in here. And what you want to do, you want to cut them in half. Usually I start at the little stem end. You want to remove all the stems and everything. Usually I start at the little stem end. And I use this, the best way to cut a tomato, in case you don't know that, the best way to cut a tomato is to use a serrated knife. What I mean by a serrated knife is knives that have the little grooves on them, like these do. I'm using just a steak knife because that has the best grooves. So you want to cut them all in half. There are multiple things you can do with these after they're done, and I can't wait to show you those. But first we got to get them all cut in half and prepped. And what you do once they're cut in half, I'll go ahead and show you this. These are my dehydrator trays. You can use whatever dehydrator you have. Mine is a Weston. Now what you want to do, you want to take and put the cut side up. You want to put the skin side down on your tray. You want to put a good bit of space between them. You want to put maybe an inch or two between them, because the more airflow you get between them, the quicker they'll dehydrate. So you want to make sure you get a lot of airflow between them. These are very large trays. They hold a lot. So if you do not have a dehydrator and you are in the market for one, I highly recommend a Weston. Now, as you can see, you just lay them out like that, skin side on the tray. Not cut side on the tray, skin side on the tray. And you just keep laying them out, cutting them in half, laying them out. And then I'll show you what we do next. Okay, at this point you have a nice little tray full. And as you can see, this one holds a lot on one tray. And at this point, it's up to you. You want to choose how you want to season them, or if you want to season them at all. You could sprinkle some dried basil on them, you could sprinkle some oregano on them, you could sprinkle some Italian seasoning on them, or you can do like I'm going to do and just do a little pinch of salt. Preferably a nice pure salt. I don't really recommend the just regular iodized salt. I recommend something more pure without the anti-caking chemicals. So I'm using Redmond's real salt, which is what I use just in cooking. Now I'm going to go put this on the dehydrator, and I'm going to keep cutting and keep stacking up the trays. I'll be back and show you what it all looks like and what to do next. Okay, this is my last tray, and now I'll take it over to the dehydrator and I'll show you what we do next. Now we will put the lid on the dehydrator. It's all stacked up now. We'll put the lid on the dehydrator and we'll start it up. You want to turn it on 130 degrees. Now mine also has a timer that you set the timer, and it will go off at that timer mark. And you want to do this for 10 to 12 hours. Now, if you want them for like sun-dried tomatoes, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do them for sun-dried type tomatoes, which still have a little moisture in them. You will want to do them for 10 hours. You will want to check them after 10 hours and see if they're dehydrated enough. If you want them to go completely crispy, crunchy, that they are completely shelf stable, then you will want to go for 12 hours or possibly more, depending on your dehydrator. Also, halfway through the process, at about 5 to 6 hours, you will want to rotate your trays. So now I'm going to start it, and we'll start this process, and I'll show you all the wonderful things you can do with these when they're done. Because there is one step that you can do with these that will make them fabulous. I can't wait to show you that one. Okay, now they're done dehydrating. As you can see, they went down to very small little things. See? Tiny little things.
Yep.
And the flavor is completely concentrated.
It is.
And they smell so wonderful. They really do. They smell so good.
There you go.
And now I'm going to start putting them in this jar. They went for, it depends on your dehydrator. So you'll want to start checking them at about 10 hours. If you want them crunchy, as in shelf stable, because they have to have every bit of moisture out of them if you want them shelf stable. So you may want, in some dehydrators that could take as much as 16 hours.
Yeah. You have to check.
You start checking them at around 10 hours.
Yeah.
These took probably around 14 hours.
Yeah, I think so.
And I wanted mine to still have a little bit of moisture. See, they're still very pliable.
Yeah. There's still moisture in it without
I want mine to be like sun-dried tomatoes. This is kind of my version of sun-dried tomatoes without leaving them out in the sun and risking bugs getting all over them and
birds pooping on them.
Yeah. This is my way of making sun-dried tomatoes. Yeah. Now, mine, like I said, mine still have a little moisture. If this is the way you want them, you cannot just store these in a jar and put them on your pantry shelf. Mm-hmm. These have to be stored one of two ways. And that's either in an airtight container in the freezer, or you can do it like I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to pack them in oil like you would the sun-dried tomatoes you buy in the store.
Yeah.
There's one difference in this and the ones you buy in the store. The ones you buy in the store, you notice they sit on the shelf and they...
Either in a jar or in a package.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even the ones in oil just sit on a shelf and they're fine. They have been highly processed.
Yeah.
Even the organic ones have been processed enough that they are shelf stable, even with that oil in them.
Do they pressure can those almost? Pressurize them in a way?
And they have the equipment that they can get those results without problems. We do not have that in our home kitchens. But because that type of stuff is so expensive,
it's just stuff you don't have in your kitchen.
you couldn't afford it for your home kitchen.
It wouldn't work. Yeah.
You don't have something that would get to enough pressure.
These all gonna fit in there?
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. All those tomatoes turn into a pint jar.
Yeah. But I think it's gonna fit pretty much exact.
Yeah. If you didn't have a dehydrator, could you do this?
You could do it in an oven.
Okay.
At about 250 degrees. 225 to 250.
Your lowest setting possible on your stove?
You can go lower. Most stoves will go lower than that. But I would say about 225, 250. And you would want to do it for a few hours still.
Yeah.
You would have to check them more often to make sure that they don't start burning.
Okay.
Because they could theoretically start burning in an oven. And they will probably get a little more crunchy in the oven. But it would still work. I've actually did sun-dried tomatoes in the oven before, and it does work.
Right.
It just doesn't dehydrate as much as these do. Now we're down to the last tray.
Last tray. We press them in there.
Shake them down.
All right, shake down. Sorry, Andy Griffith with reverence.
Andy Griffith with reverence. Now at this point, if you're going to pack them in oil, like I'm going to, you can leave them just like they are. You know, when I dehydrated them, I put just a little bit of salt on them. You can, at this point, you can choose to put herbs in your jar, either fresh or dried. If you put fresh in there, you will have to use the sun-dried tomatoes pretty quickly because it will make them go bad. If you choose to use dried, they will last much longer. If you use fresh, you will have to use them in about 4 days because the herbs.
Fresh herbs.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you put fresh herbs in here.
Okay.
If you put dried, they can last in the refrigerator for months. So what you want to do, you want to take good quality olive oil. And you want to just start drizzling it in. But you want to drizzle it very slowly because it has to seep through.
That's a beautiful jar of food.
Yes, it is. And don't feel like you're wasting this oil.
No.
Especially if it's more expensive oil. Don't feel like you're wasting it because this oil is going to flavor with tomatoes. So then you have this beautiful oil to use as well. So you actually want to do this because then you've got 2 products in one.
How would you use this? Like just scoop it out and put it in some pasta?
You could put this in pasta. You could do like a Tuscan chicken pasta with this.
Oh yeah.
With some spinach and some chicken.
I mean, we've done things like that.
Yes.
With some sun-dried tomatoes that we bought in the store. That's really cool.
You want to be sure and make sure they're all covered with the oil.
Are they going to reconstitute a little bit, or is it?
That the oil will reconstitute them just a little bit. That's the reason it doesn't matter if they're 100% dry with this method, because the oil is going to reconstitute them some anyways. Now this part is very crucial. Even though you buy those ones in the store and they are on the shelf, and even though some people may tell you that you can keep these on the pantry shelf in a dark place.
You don't want to.
You really don't want to. This environment right here is ideal for botulism to grow. You've got a low acidity food packed in oil. It's ideal for botulism to grow. What you want to do, you want to store this in your refrigerator. Now your oil is going to solidify in the refrigerator. All you have to do, like if you just want to take some of the tomatoes out and you don't want the oil for that recipe, you just need the tomatoes. Take it out of the refrigerator about 30 minutes before you're going to use it, and it will reliquefy, and it will go right back to the way it is right here.
Right.
And it will be just fine. It may be a little more cloudy, but it will be just fine, and you will know you're safe.
And if you don't want the oil, you can kind of damp dry them, right? Or damp them.
Yes.
Yeah.
But most of the time,
powder dry.
Most of the time, you want that oil.
Yeah. I do.
Because it just adds flavor. Because this oil, over the course of a few days, this oil is going to take on the flavor of these tomatoes, and it's a beautiful jar of food.
It is. It looks really cool.
You cannot find anything that pretty in the store.
No, not at all.
So now I'm going to put a lid on it. Of course, a 4-jars lid.
Even though it don't matter at this point, you could, it don't matter what lid. You could use a plastic lid for them or whatever.
Yes.
But.
And now you can put those in the refrigerator and store them away. And basically they will last in your refrigerator for as much as 2 months.
Yep.
And there you have it, some homemade sun-dried tomatoes packed in olive oil. Honestly, I'm really excited about it because it's going to be really stinking flavorful and really good. And so just another way that you can make a really great high-end product with your really great homegrown produce. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it. My name is Jason. That's a smart one. Her name is Angela Kay. This is Art of Creation Homestead. We love y'all. God bless you and goodbye.